Hi everyone. I read a book. It was good, so I'm going to talk about it. This is A Narrow Door by Joanne Harris, her most recent release, and is the fourth book in the Mulberry series, and I don't know whether it's only the third book to see Roy Straightley as one of the narrators, but this follows Gentlemen and Players, Different Class and Blue-Eyed Boy. Here we see the first ever headmistress at St Oswald's Academy, and also we're seeing this former private school, it's a private school, we're seeing this former all-boys school finally accept women into its folds. The year is 2006, and Rebecca Buckfast has taken over the school. Throughout this book, you're going to get references to Gentlemen and Players and Different Class. However, they are not important to the narrative being told here, so you can't read all of the books separately. You will, however, get more enjoyment out of it have you read the other books beforehand. I'd only read Gentlemen and Players, so I knew some of what was being referenced, but all it did when I saw those references was make me want to go and read those books. Here we have a fully realised story of its own when a body is found in the grounds, and after all of the difficulties that we've seen in previous books, the headmistress wants to cover it up, not before revealing just why these remains have come to be in the school grounds. Then we get a tale that also goes back to 1989. This is a novel with two narrators, Miss Buckfast and Mr. Straightley. Roy. His name's Roy. Roy's narrating this too, people, but Roy is very much taking the back seat in this novel. Indeed, what I would say is that we as the reader are now taking on the role of Roy as Rebecca tells us her story. And Rebecca reveals about a brother of hers that went missing many years ago and how this affected her family. This is a novel about memory. This is a novel about the way that memory can be corrupted. This is incredibly dark and psychological, and because it is somewhat of a thriller, it's a thriller. However, I also found it decidedly gothic and a bit perfect for the autumn. Whilst a majority of this book in the past is set during the summer months, it begins at the start of the Michaelmas term, which is September, and towards the end we're heading into October time. Throughout this, Rebecca has been telling her story to Roy. She's also detailing how women are perceived in society and how women are perceived at an all-boys school. And because it goes back to 1989, you can see how even in just this short amount of time, a lot has changed, but also in 1989, you would have expected some progression, but the way that the school was acting in that time was very out of date. And I would say maybe they had some ideologies that could have stayed 30 years before. What I say about this book is it's Joanne Harris's style and take on a thriller. Here you're getting different folklore with the Vienna Roche books, with Chocolat, the Lollipop Shoes, Peaches from Monsieur Le Carré, and the Strawberry Thief. The folklore in there and the mythology references are usually all Nordic and more, not exotic, but very much linked to paganism. Here, because I believe we're in a fictional northern village, maybe not. Yeah, North Yorkshire. We're in North Yorkshire, people. So we're not in France anymore. We're in North Yorkshire. We're with a different set of characters. And so the references and the mythology feel very much more suited to the area. The creations that we're hearing about and the possible ghosts and ghouls that may or may not exist feel very much typical of the area. Indeed, when Roy is referencing Rebecca and he's talking about her, he discusses her as Nimue, despite the fact that she also calls herself Scheherazade, because Roy is a Latin master, you do get these touches of Latin, which also kind of ages his views and gives a sense of the type of character that he is. With Rebecca, it was a weird one to be the reader, listening to her recount her experiences, reading her recount her experiences, because I have been so used to a different kind of protagonist when it comes to Joanne Harris. Somebody not perhaps more amenable, but somebody who I very much felt sympathy for. Vianne Rocher, I believe, is a more sympathetic character than Rebecca Buckfast, but at the same time, over the course of the novel, due to everything I'm learning about Rebecca, as is referenced itself, she's like the layers of an onion as she recounts her story, and as these layers get stripped away and we get to see more of who this character is and how they've come to be where they are, well then I was on Rebecca's side and I wanted to succeed in everything she was doing, even if what she was doing could have perhaps been more nefarious. But that's the thing about the Gentlemen and Players books. They have... When did Gentlemen and Players first come out? When did it first come out? Gentlemen and Players was first published in 2005. In all this time with these books, there has been a lot of discussion about the way that men perceive women. Men's perception of women is very heavily featured in this book and criticised. But also with this book, because we are in Rebecca's head, we're getting to see how she has recognised this and has used it to her advantage. Now, this book is also the very definition of a page turner, in that I read 220 pages of it between the hours of 9 and 11 on Sunday night. Didn't get to read any yesterday because I was at work, and when I got home, let's not even get into that. And I sat down and finished it this morning within 2 hours. At points, I was predicting what had happened, and sometimes I was a bit wrong, and sometimes I was a bit right, and yeah, it didn't reduce the pace. It didn't feel like it was lacking anything. I liked these touches of the supernatural. Sometimes I'm a bit critical when it comes to the blend of, well, when it comes to that question, is it supernatural or is it a symptom of a mental health issue? Sometimes that can really frustrate me. Here, however, I think it was used to great effect because we end up with an unreliable narrator. We end up with this narrator that we have just spent 300 pages with, maybe? This is 400. How many pages are there here? We got 436 pages here. We got 434 because I was counting the acknowledgements. In 434 pages, after about page 300, you realise that maybe your narrator's a bit unreliable. One of them anyway. It just then throws you for a loop, or whatever they say, because you're there and you're thinking, well, she's told me all this, and now I don't know whether I can trust her, but I already trust her, because I've stuck here for 300 pages and I really want to know where this is going, what's happened, who do I have to fight, am I going to have to bury somebody's myself? I mean, it's all fictional, but you know what I mean. That's why I call these thoughts, I don't call these book reviews, because we knew I was going to enjoy Joanne Harris's new book, because for crying out loud, favourite author over here. And I do recommend getting the Waterstones edition because I can't stop looking at it. It just works incredibly well, considering really for 430 pages here, for the most part, you're seeing a crime be... Well, this novel is basically Rebecca trying to find out what happened to her brother. And yet she's recounting it in 2006. And that happened in 1989. So what's happened? You know, what's brought her here 17 years after she found out everything that happened? What's going on with these remains in the field? I just, like I say, I think that these books have all had some great commentary on changes in society related to men's perception of women. And I think that there really was no other way Dante said it in 2006. Not just because of the narrator's age from Gentlemen and Players, but also because, well, just because of it being 2021. And if this book was set in 2021, the remains would have been videoed, uploaded all over the internet, and the story would have only gone on for 20 pages. So whoever put those remains there, let's just say they're incredibly lucky that Miss Harris chose to set these books 15 years ago, because they wouldn't have been in luck today, would they? Either way, it's a narrow door. Came out last week. The sequel to Gentlemen and Players, a different class, and somehow Blue-Eyed Boy. It's brilliant, and I recommend it. As I say, it can stand alone, and I'd recommend perhaps reading the others first, but you don't have to, and it will be a good read for you as you head towards the more autumnal months, because it's the perfect almost gothic read with some supernatural undertones that may or may not be supernatural, and it's blooming marvellous, I must say. Anyway, if you've read this book or any of the others by Joanne Harris and would like to discuss them, please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.